If you're hearing this, it wasn't your decision to change. It feels like something inside you shifted without permission. Your reactions are different. Your tolerance is gone. Things you once accepted now feel impossible to carry. And you keep trying to trace it back to a moment, a choice, a reason you can explain. But there is no moment you chose this. Because this change did not come from you. It came from God. You didn't wake up one day and decide to outgrow everything. You were moved into it. This wasn't self-improvement. This was separation. There are people who change because they want a better life. They read, they learn, they adjust. Their transformation is gradual, controlled, chosen. That is not what happened to you. Yours was forced, sudden, irreversible. And that is how God reshapes the ones He has chosen. You didn't evolve. You were redirected. Look at how it happened. You didn't sit down and decide to see people differently. You just couldn't ignore what you started noticing. You didn't plan to distance yourself. You just couldn't stay connected the same way anymore. You didn't choose to lose interest in certain things. They just stopped holding you. That is not preference. That is extraction. You were extracted from a version of yourself that could no longer continue. This wasn't random. It was selection. The 144,000 are not changed by effort. They are changed by force. Because their path does not allow gradual adjustment. It requires immediate realignment. And realignment does not wait for your comfort. It overrides it. You kept trying to go back, to feel the same, to respond the same, to care the same. But every attempt failed, because the version of you that could do that no longer exists. You weren't rejected. You were replaced, not by someone else, by who you are becoming. This is the part most people resist. They think something is wrong because they no longer fit where they used to belong. But for you, that is the evidence. You are no longer built for what once held you. And that is not loss. That is design. God does not ask you if you are ready to change. He changes you when it is time. And once that happens, there is no reversal. You cannot unsee what you now see. You cannot unknow what you now understand. You cannot go back into a mindset that has already been broken open. That door is closed. Permanently. You didn't choose to live that version of your life. That version of your life was close to you. And now you're standing in a space that feels unfamiliar, detached, quiet, almost empty. But this is not emptiness. This is clarity without distraction. You are not lost. You are unoccupied by what used to consume you. And that feels strange because you were used to noise, used to attachment, used to filling your mind with things that kept you from seeing clearly. Now that noise is gone. And all that remains is awareness. This is where the chosen begin to recognize themselves. Not through what they have, but through what they no longer tolerate. You are not the same. And that is not your fault. That is your assignment. You weren't abandoned. You were advanced. Everything that feels out of place right now is only out of place because you are no longer meant to be placed there. Your environment didn't suddenly become wrong. You outgrew it. And that growth was not optional. It was activated. You keep asking why it feels so uncomfortable. Because you are no longer aligned with what surrounds you. An alignment is not something you can fake. You either fit or you don't. And right now, you don't. Because you are being moved. The chosen are not allowed to stay where they are, understood too easily. They are moved into spaces where they must rely on God, not familiarity. And that is exactly where you are. You don't recognize yourself fully yet, but you also cannot return to who you were. That tension is not confusion. It is transition. This wasn't a choice. It was a shift. And shifts of this kind are not gentle. They disrupt everything that was stable. They remove what was comfortable. They expose what was hidden. Because you cannot step into purpose while still operating from a version of yourself that was built for survival. You are no longer surviving. You are being positioned. You didn't decide to become this way. You were made this way. And once you understand that, you stop trying to fix it. You stop trying to go back. You stop trying to explain yourself to people who only knew the old version of you. Because that version is gone. And it is not coming back. You are not broken. You are being rewritten. Every thought that feels different. Every reaction that surprises you. Every moment where you pause instead of acting the way you used to. That is not inconsistency. That is reconstruction. God is rebuilding your internal structure. Not slowly, not gently, but completely. And when He rebuilds, He does not reuse what was weak. He removes it. This is why you feel disconnected. Because everything that once defined you is being stripped. So what remains is not influenced, not dependent, not attached, only aligned. This wasn't random. This wasn't something you caused. This wasn't something you could have avoided. This was initiated. And once it begins, it does not stop. You are not choosing this path. You are on it. You are chosen. And what is chosen does not decide when to change. It changes when God decides. This is not your timing. This is His. And now that it has started, there is no returning to what you were, only moving forward into what you are becoming. What you are experiencing now does not slow down. It intensifies. Because once God initiates change in someone who is chosen, He does not pause halfway. He does not leave you between versions. He completes what He started, even when it feels like everything familiar is being pulled away at once. And that is exactly why this phase feels overwhelming. Not because something is wrong, but because everything is being corrected. You notice it in small moments. Conversations that used to feel normal now feel forced. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel heavy. People who once understood you now feel distant, as if there is a layer between you that didn't exist before. That layer is not confusion. It is separation. You are no longer operating on the same level. And you didn't decide that. You were moved. This wasn't random. It was selection. You are being pulled into a different alignment, and alignment always creates distance from what no longer matches. That distance is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to protect what is being formed in you. Because what is forming now cannot grow in the same environment that shaped the old version of you. It requires space. It requires silence. It requires separation that feels uncomfortable, but is necessary. You didn't choose to become more aware. Awareness was activated in you. And once awareness is activated, ignorance is no longer an option. You cannot go back to not seeing. You cannot go back to not feeling. You cannot go back to accepting what now feels misaligned. That version of you is gone permanently. You weren't rejected. You were elevated. And elevation always changes your position relative to everything else. What used to be at your level is now below your awareness. Not in value, but in alignment. And that shift creates a gap. That gap is what you feel as distance, as loneliness, as disconnection. But it is not emptiness. It is space created intentionally by God so that what belongs to your next level can enter without interference. You are not being left without anything. You are being cleared of everything that cannot go where you are going. And that clearing process is not comfortable because it removes more than just external things. It removes internal patterns, ways of thinking, ways of reacting, ways of attaching. All of it is being dismantled because your purpose cannot be built on the same internal structure you used before. It requires something stronger, more precise, more aligned. And that means everything weak must be removed. You didn't choose to think this way now. You didn't choose to question things you once accepted. You didn't choose to feel disconnected from what once defined you. You were made to, because God is not adjusting your life. He is reconstructing it. And reconstruction requires demolition first. This is the stage you are in. The stage where everything that cannot support what is being built is taken down. Not slowly, not partially, but completely. And that is why it feels intense, because there is no part of your life untouched by this change. Everything is being evaluated. Everything is being filtered. Everything is either aligned or removed. You are not losing control. You are being taken out of control, because control keeps you attached to what feels safe. And what feels safe is not always what is aligned. So God removes your ability to hold on. He removes your ability to stay where you are no longer meant to be. He removes your ability to go back. So the only direction left is forward. You weren't abandoned. You were directed. There is a precision to what is happening that you may not fully see yet, but you can feel it. The timing of things ending, the way certain truths reveal themselves at once, the way situations collapse, right where you start questioning them. That is not coincidence. That is orchestration. You are being guided through a process that is exact. Nothing is happening randomly. Everything is happening in order. Even if that order does not match your expectations, you are not behind. You are on time. God does not rush transformation, but He also does not delay it once it begins. And yours has already begun. That is why nothing feels the same, because it isn't. You are not the same, and you will not return to what you were. That option has been removed. You are moving into something that requires you to be different. And that difference is being formed right now through separation, through awareness, through the removal of everything that once kept you in place. You are not stuck. You are being held in position while everything unnecessary is cleared. And once that clearing is complete, movement will happen. Not forced, not rushed, but aligned. You are chosen. And what is chosen is not allowed to remain unchanged. This transformation is not something you manage. It is something you go through. And once you understand that, you stop resisting. You stop trying to hold on. You stop trying to explain what is happening to people who are not experiencing it. Because this is not a common path. This is a selected one. And now you see it clearly. You didn't choose this change. God did. And because He did, it will not fail.